On Storytime Audio, we bring you gripping tales that keep you on the edge of your seat. Today's story, Betrayal at the Altar. The unraveling truth of a cheating wife, dives deep into the emotional rollercoaster of Michael, a man whose wedding day turns from a dream into a devastating nightmare. Follow along as we uncover the shocking revelations and heartfelt journey of resilience and new beginnings. Stay tuned for a story that explores betrayal, heartache, and the strength to move forward. Michael, a 28-year-old man, was supposed to be in Maldives enjoying his honeymoon with his life partner, Emma, who was 27. Instead of relishing in blissful moments, Michael found himself penning a post about the woman who had now become a part of his life in the most unexpected way. Yesterday was their wedding day, a day that was meant to be the pinnacle of happiness for Michael. Unfortunately, it quickly transformed into a nightmarish ordeal when he uncovered a shocking truth just hours after exchanging vows with the woman he thought he would spend the rest of his life with. The wedding was set in the picturesque beaches of Florida, a dream location for both of them. They had planned the event meticulously, with the festivities spanning 2 days. It began with a bachelor party for Michael and a bachelorette party for Emma on March 9, 2023. The celebrations were filled with laughter, joy, and anticipation for the upcoming nuptials. The plan was simple. They would not see each other during the 2 days leading up to the wedding. The first time they would lay eyes on each other would be at the altar, a romantic notion that added to the excitement. Michael and his groomsmen celebrated in one part of the resort, while Emma and her bridesmaids partied in another. The parties were wild, with everyone reveling in the festivities late into the night until they succumbed to exhaustion around midnight. The following morning, Michael woke up with a sense of nervous excitement. He prepared himself meticulously for the day ahead. His groomsmen helped him dress in his tuxedo, and they shared jokes to ease his anxiety. Michael couldn't wait to see Emma walking down the aisle, to start their life together officially. At the same time, Emma was in another part of the resort, getting ready with her bridesmaids. The atmosphere was electric with excitement. Emma's bridesmaids fussed over her hair and makeup, making sure every detail was perfect. Emma couldn't stop smiling, thinking about how beautiful their wedding day was going to be. The ceremony took place at a beautiful outdoor venue overlooking the ocean. As guests arrived, they were greeted with breathtaking views and a gentle sea breeze. The decorations were elegant, with white flowers adorning the aisle and an arch where Michael and Emma would exchange their vows. When the ceremony began, Michael stood at the altar, his heart racing with anticipation. The music played, and everyone turned to watch as Emma walked down the aisle, her father by her side. Emma looked stunning in her white gown, her eyes fixed on Michael. As she reached the altar, Michael felt a rush of emotion, knowing that this moment was the beginning of their forever. They exchanged their vows with tears in their eyes, promising to love and cherish each other for the rest of their lives. The guests cheered as they were pronounced husband and wife. Michael and Emma shared a passionate kiss, sealing their vows. The reception that followed was a joyous celebration. Friends and family toasted to the newlyweds' future happiness. There was laughter, dancing, and an overwhelming sense of love and support from everyone present. Michael felt like he was on cloud nine. However, amidst the grand celebration, Michael felt the need to use the restroom. As he made his way there, he inadvertently overheard 2 janitors, Mark and Susan, engaged in a hushed conversation. Their subject matter piqued his curiosity. The snippets of their exchange sent shock waves through his being as they spoke of witnessing the bride sharing an intimate moment with the best man, John, while she was adorned in her resplendent wedding gown. Concealed from their view, Michael eavesdropped on their conversation, each word unraveling a tale of betrayal and deception. Mark and Susan were resolute in their conviction that they had witnessed Emma, dressed in her bridal finery, engaging in passionate embraces with John within the confines of the restroom. The bride and the best man were in the restroom together, Mark whispered. I saw them go in, and they didn't come out for a long time. Yeah, and it was definitely them, Susan added. She was in her wedding dress, for crying out loud. The gravity of the situation intensified when Mark disclosed seeing John entering Emma's room in the early hours of the morning, mistakenly assuming he was the groom, only to realize his error later on. The temptation to remain concealed and eavesdrop proved too strong to resist for Michael. When I finally emerged from my hiding spot, all 3 of them were taken aback by my unexpected presence. Awkwardness hung in the air as they hastily vacated the premises, Michael wrote in his post. Determined to get to the bottom of the matter, I embarked on an investigation. Michael's first instinct was to check inside the restroom for any signs of a hidden camera, but his search yielded no results. However, his suspicions were further fueled when he discovered a camera discreetly positioned in the lobby just outside the restroom. Realizing the potential significance of this discovery, he hastily made his way to the room where Emma had stayed the previous night and, to his astonishment, found yet another camera positioned outside her door. With a sense of urgency, Michael contacted James, the wedding manager, imploring him to retrieve the footage from both the lobby camera and the one located outside Emma's room. Initially hesitant, James wasn't sure how to proceed. "I'm not sure if we should be doing this," James said cautiously. "Please, I need to know the truth," Michael pleaded. "I can't go on without knowing." Fueled by Michael's desperation and undeniable need for answers, James agreed to assist him. He attempted to calm Michael's frayed nerves and assured him that he would make every effort to obtain the recordings. Reluctantly, Michael returned to the lunch table, determined not to create a scene in front of the unsuspecting guests. However, he couldn't help but observe the subtle interactions between John and Emma. They displayed an air of normalcy as if nothing untoward had ever transpired between them. A lump formed in Michael's throat, and he found himself devoid of anyone to confide in. Both his best man and his wife, who were supposed to be the pillars of support on this momentous day, had betrayed him in the most profound manner. "My inner turmoil must have been palpable as Emma and others began to express concern for my well-being," Michael wrote. "My complexion had turned pallid, and I trembled with anxiety despite the joyous atmosphere. When John extended his hand to Emma, inviting her for a dance, it should have been a sight of pure bliss, but now, with the knowledge of their betrayal, the sight repulsed me." As Michael watched them sway to the music, he couldn't help but envision the depths of their deception. His mind conjured vivid details of the betrayal that had transpired the previous night. He felt pathetic, consumed by images of their infidelity. A text message interrupted Michael's spiraling thoughts. It was from James, informing him that he had successfully obtained the recordings. Determined to confront the truth head-on, Michael instructed James to meet him in his room, where he hoped to find the answers that would bring clarity to this web of deceit. Emma was deeply engrossed in conversation with John and other groomsmen, seemingly oblivious to the turmoil that consumed Michael. Feeling a mix of despair and determination, Michael made his way back to his room where he met James to collect the footage. "Thank you, James," Michael said, expressing his gratitude. "I need to be alone now." James nodded understandingly and exited the room. Once alone, Michael locked the door behind him, his hands trembling with a potent blend of anticipation and apprehension. He knew that the contents of the footage he was about to view would irreversibly alter the course of his life. With a heavy heart, Michael pressed play and watched the events of their wedding day unfold before his eyes as captured by the lobby camera. The footage revealed the startling sight of John discreetly entering the men's restroom. It became evident that he had locked the door from the inside, likely summoning Emma to join him. She entered the restroom covertly, and they remained locked inside for what seemed like an eternity, approximately 10 to 12 minutes. During this time, a few other men attempted to utilize the restroom only to find the door bolted shut. Eventually, the janitors must have alerted the security or janitorial staff as Mark arrived and knocked on the door, seeking a response. Yet no answer came from within. Mark enlisted the assistance of two other men to utilize a different restroom upstairs. After returning with a key, Mark unlocked the door, and Emma hastily emerged, her eyes betraying the turmoil within. "Tears welled up in my eyes as the evidence before me confirmed the betrayal that had taken place," Michael wrote. "It was enough to shatter the illusion of trust and faithfulness that had formed the foundation of our relationship." However, Michael's insatiable curiosity compelled him to review the footage from the previous night, seeking further understanding of the depths of their treachery. What he witnessed in those recordings was a premeditated and deliberate act of betrayal. John and Emma were shamelessly intimate in the lobby, their actions betraying the sacred vows they had exchanged earlier in the day. As they made their way towards Emma's room, his hands roamed freely over her, igniting a storm of emotions within me, Michael recalled. I could only imagine the extent of their transgressions once they entered that room, and the mere thought brought me to my knees, crying like a wounded soul. In the midst of Michael's anguish, there came a barrage of knocks on his door accompanied by the incessant buzzing of his phone from texts and calls. Feeling overwhelmed by the weight of the situation, Michael reached out to James, beseeching him to inform everyone to grant him the space he desperately needed. Understanding the gravity of the situation, James complied, and the knocks ceased. However, Emma continued to send Michael text messages, seemingly concerned about his well-being, oblivious to the devastation she had caused. Despite eventually turning off my phone, my restlessness persisted, and I couldn't find solace in the confines of my room any longer, Michael wrote. Filled with a mix of anger, heartbreak, and confusion, I stormed out only to discover that the majority of the guests had already departed. Only a small group of family members, including both sets of parents, siblings, and a few close friends, remained. John had also vanished from the scene, adding to the air of mystery and betrayal that hung heavily in the air. Emma, her eyes swollen with tears, was surrounded by her maid of honor, her parents, and others who were trying to offer solace and comfort during this tumultuous time. As soon as they caught sight of Michael, everyone rushed over, concerned expressions etched across their faces. My mother enveloped me in a tight hug, her eyes filled with worry, and she asked what had gone wrong, Michael recalled. Emma, however, kept her distance, perhaps sensing the gravity of the situation and the consequences of her actions. It was as if Emma and John had some inkling of what had transpired. Michael looked at Emma, the weight of his pain evident in his gaze, and with a heavy heart, he uttered the words that shattered the remaining fragments of their relationship. "I'm canceling the marriage right now," Michael declared. Emma's tears flowed uncontrollably, and the rest of the group bombarded Michael with questions, their voices a cacophony of confusion and disbelief. In that moment, Michael switched on his phone and showed Emma's father the damning footage of her intimate encounter in the lobby. The shock on his face spoke volumes, and the gravity of the situation began to sink in for everyone present, Michael wrote. Determined to distance myself from the venue and the chaos that had unfolded, I made the decision to leave. The wedding manager reached out to Michael, attempting to discuss the final settlement, but Michael instructed him to handle it directly with Emma, unwilling to engage further with the logistical aftermath of the shattered wedding. Since that moment, Michael hadn't spoken to anyone. He embarked on a solitary journey, driving over 200 miles to a remote countryside location where he sought refuge since the previous afternoon. Leaving the venue in my wedding attire, I couldn't bear the weight of the occasion any longer, Michael wrote. Along the way, I changed into my gym clothes, rummaging through the trunk of my car. It had been a pathetic and heart-wrenching situation, one that left Michael feeling isolated and unable to find solace in the presence of others. He withdrew into himself, not uttering a word to anyone. The last meal he consumed was the wedding lunch, a bitter reminder of the joyous occasion that was cruelly marred by betrayal. In an attempt to find some semblance of closure and healing, I contemplated visiting the pastor for the annulment process, Michael wrote. However, the motivation to take such a step eluded me in my current state of emotional turmoil. Compounding the chaos, Michael realized with a jolt that their flight to Maldives was scheduled for that morning. Amidst all the upheaval, he had completely forgotten to cancel it. Consequently, the money spent on the flights went to waste. I did manage to cancel the hotel bookings, although I was unable to secure refunds due to the late cancellation past the check-in time, Michael wrote. In the end, I only received partial reimbursement for the return flight from Maldives and a few water sports bookings. The loss incurred extended far beyond material possessions. The emotional toll was immeasurable, leaving Michael uncertain of how he would navigate this profound trauma. My head throbs with pain, and the crushing weight of loneliness gnaws at my soul, Michael concluded. Michael's journey to healing began with his decision to seek refuge in a remote countryside location. The tranquil surroundings contrasted sharply with the emotional turmoil he felt inside. The days that followed were a blur of pain, confusion, and introspection. The small motel where he stayed was a humble establishment near a highway, frequented by weary truck drivers and road trippers. The place held little significance for Michael, who only desired an escape from the familiarity of his world, now shattered beyond recognition. 2 days after arriving at the motel, Michael mustered the strength to venture downstairs to the nearby supermarket in search of basic provisions. It had been an agonizing 2 days since he had last consumed any sustenance, and the effects were evident as he felt himself wasting away. After gathering essential supplies, he finally sat down for a meal, the simple act bringing a semblance of nourishment to his depleted body. Following that, he took a much-needed shower, cleansing himself of the physical and emotional burdens that had consumed him. With a renewed sense of purpose, Michael resolved to seek guidance from the pastor who had solemnized their ill-fated union. He drove to the small church nestled in the heart of the nearby town, hoping to find some clarity and direction. As Michael entered the church, the familiar scent of incense and the soft glow of candlelight greeted him. The pastor, Father Thomas, was a kind-hearted man in his late 50s, known for his wisdom and compassion. He welcomed Michael with a warm smile, sensing the heaviness in his heart. "Michael, my son, what brings you here today?" Father Thomas asked, his voice gentle and reassuring. Michael took a deep breath, struggling to find the words to express the turmoil within him. "Father, I need your guidance. My marriage, it's over. Emma, she betrayed me with my best man, John. I don't know what to do." Father Thomas listened attentively, his expression reflecting the shock and sorrow he felt for Michael. "I am truly sorry to hear that, Michael. Betrayal is a deep wound, and it takes time to heal. Have you considered an annulment?" Michael nodded, his voice trembling. "Yes, I have, but I don't know if it's possible. We were legally married, and the betrayal happened just before the wedding." Father Thomas sighed, contemplating the situation. Annulments are typically granted in cases involving fraud, forced marriages, or misrepresentation of vows. Given the circumstances, it might be challenging to pursue an annulment. You may have to consider a divorce. The word, divorce, felt like a dagger to Michael's heart. He had never imagined his marriage would end this way, so soon after it had begun. But he knew that he couldn't continue in a relationship built on lies and betrayal. "I understand, Father," Michael said, his voice heavy with resignation. "I will do whatever it takes to move forward." Father Thomas placed a comforting hand on Michael's shoulder. "Remember, Michael, you are not alone in this. Lean on your family and friends for support. And take the time you need to heal. God's grace will guide you through this difficult journey." Leaving the church, Michael felt a small measure of peace, knowing that he had taken the first step toward healing. He reached out to his parents, who had been deeply troubled by the situation but offered their unwavering support. "Michael, we are here for you," his mother said, her voice filled with concern. "You don't have to go through this alone." His father, a seasoned businessman, provided the contact details of a reputable divorce lawyer, Mr. Anderson, who had experience handling similar cases. Michael reluctantly made an appointment, knowing that this was the next step in his journey. The meeting with Mr. Anderson was a somber affair. Michael recounted the events leading up to the wedding and the subsequent betrayal. Mr. Anderson listened patiently, taking notes and offering reassurances. "Given that your marriage was not physically consummated, the divorce process should proceed relatively swiftly," Mr. Anderson explained. "We will work to ensure that you are not burdened with any financial obligations, and we will seek a fair settlement." Michael nodded, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. The legal proceedings began, and within a week, the divorce papers were prepared. Emma would be responsible for covering half of the wedding expenses, as she had been disowned by her parents and left with few resources. During this tumultuous time, Michael's mother proved to be a remarkable source of strength. She dedicated her time to cleaning up and renovating Michael's house, eradicating any remnants of Emma's presence. Gradually, Michael began to regain control over his life. One of the initial steps he took was joining a fitness club. Exercise became an outlet for his pent-up emotions, allowing him to clear his mind and redirect his energy. He started shedding the pounds he had gained during the stressful period, and with each workout, he felt a little stronger, both physically and emotionally. Work also became a sanctuary for Michael. He poured his energy into his professional endeavors, finding solace in the routine and productivity. His colleagues noticed a change in him, but they respected his need for privacy and offered their support from a distance. A week after the divorce papers were filed, Michael received a text message from Emma, the first communication since the day everything fell apart. She expressed a desire to meet, and despite his initial reluctance, Michael agreed. They met at a small cafe near the courthouse. Emma appeared pale and fragile, her eyes filled with regret. The conversation was marked by awkwardness and tension, with Michael responding to her inquiries with one-word answers. Michael, I'm so sorry for what happened, Emma began, her voice trembling. I never meant to hurt you. I made a terrible mistake. Michael looked at her, his expression stoic. Why, Emma? Why did you do it? Emma's eyes welled with tears. I don't know. I was confused and scared. I thought I needed one last fling before committing to you for life. It was a stupid, selfish decision. Michael shook his head, struggling to comprehend her reasoning. You betrayed me, Emma. You shattered our trust. How can I ever forgive that? Emma reached out, her hand trembling. Please, Michael, give us one more chance. We can start over. I love you. But Michael knew that their relationship could never be the same. The breach of trust was insurmountable, and his feelings for Emma had changed irrevocably. I'm sorry, Emma, but I can't. We need to move on with our lives separately. Emma sobbed quietly, her tears streaming down her face. I understand, she whispered. I wish you all the happiness in the world, Michael. With that, they parted ways, and Emma signed the divorce papers, returning them to Mr. Anderson. The divorce proceedings moved forward, and Michael focused on rebuilding his life. Gradually, he started finding moments of peace and happiness. He met a remarkable woman at work, a resilient single mother with an adorable daughter. Their relationship blossomed slowly, bringing new joy and contentment to Michael's life. Through this journey, Michael learned valuable lessons about resilience, forgiveness, and the importance of trusting his instincts. He emerged from the darkness stronger and more determined to embrace the future with an open heart. As Michael continued to heal, he realized that life had a way of surprising him with unexpected blessings. And while the scars of betrayal would always be a part of his story, they no longer defined him. Instead, they became a testament to his strength and ability to rise above adversity. Michael's journey to recovery continued as he adjusted to his new life post-divorce. The pain of betrayal still lingered, but he found solace in his daily routines and the support of those around him. Exercise became a therapeutic outlet for him, allowing him to channel his emotions into physical activity. Every morning, Michael would rise early and head to the fitness club. The rhythmic clanging of weights and the hum of treadmills provided a sense of normalcy. As he pushed his limits, he felt his strength returning, both physically and mentally. His dedication to fitness was not just about shedding the weight he had gained during the stressful period but also about rebuilding his confidence and self-worth. Michael's professional life also thrived. He threw himself into his work, finding purpose and fulfillment in his projects. His colleagues noticed his renewed focus and determination, respecting his need for space while offering their support. The office became a refuge where he could momentarily forget the turmoil of his personal life. One evening, after an intense workout session, Michael received a call from his mother. Her voice was filled with concern and love. Michael, how are you holding up? She asked gently. I'm doing better, Mom, Michael replied, his voice steady. Focusing on work and exercise has been really helpful. That's good to hear, sweetheart. Your father and I are always here for you, no matter what, she reassured him. Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it, Michael said, feeling a warmth spread through him. Despite his progress, there were still moments when the weight of his experience would come crashing down. Late at night, when the world was quiet, Michael often found himself lost in thought, replaying the events that had led to his broken marriage. The sense of betrayal and hurt was a constant companion, but he was determined not to let it define him. One Saturday afternoon, while taking a break from his workout, Michael decided to visit a nearby park. The sun was shining, casting a golden glow over the lush greenery. Families were picnicking, children were playing, and the atmosphere was filled with laughter and joy. Michael found a quiet bench and sat down, allowing himself to soak in the serenity. As he sat there, lost in thought, he noticed a familiar face approaching. It was Sarah, a colleague from work who had always been kind and supportive. She was pushing a stroller with a young child inside, her face lighting up with a smile when she saw Michael. Hey, Michael, fancy seeing you here, Sarah greeted him warmly. Hey, Sarah, it's good to see you, Michael replied, returning her smile. This is my daughter, Lily, Sarah introduced, gesturing to the adorable toddler in the stroller. Lily looked up at Michael with wide, curious eyes, and he couldn't help but smile at her innocence. Hi, Lily, Michael said softly, kneeling down to her level. It's nice to meet you. Lily giggled and reached out her tiny hand, which Michael gently took. She's beautiful, Michael remarked, standing up and turning his attention back to Sarah. Thank you, Sarah replied, her eyes filled with love for her daughter. We come here often to enjoy the fresh air and sunshine. They spent the afternoon talking, sharing stories, and watching Lily play. Sarah's presence was comforting, and Michael felt a sense of ease he hadn't experienced in a long time. Their conversation flowed naturally, and Michael found himself opening up about his recent experiences. Thank you for listening, Sarah, Michael said, feeling a weight lift off his shoulders. It's been a tough journey, but I'm starting to find my way. Sarah reached out and squeezed his hand gently. I'm glad to hear that, Michael. You're a strong person, and you deserve to find happiness again. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the park, Michael felt a renewed sense of hope. He realized that moving forward didn't mean forgetting the past, but rather, embracing it as a part of his story. He was determined to build a future filled with love, joy, and meaningful connections. Over the next few months, Michael and Sarah's friendship deepened. They spent more time together, often meeting at the park or grabbing coffee after work. Lily grew fond of Michael, and her laughter became a source of joy for him. The bond they formed was special, and Michael felt a sense of belonging that he had missed. One evening, while walking along the beach, Sarah turned to Michael with a thoughtful expression. Michael, have you ever thought about what you want for your future? Michael looked out at the horizon, the waves gently crashing against the shore. I used to have it all planned out, but now, I'm not so sure. I just want to be happy and surrounded by people who care about me. Sarah smiled, her eyes reflecting the setting sun. I think you're well on your way to finding that, Michael. As they continued their walk, Michael felt a sense of peace wash over him. For the first time in a long while, he felt hopeful about the future. The pain of the past was still there, but it no longer controlled him. He was ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that he had the strength and support to overcome any challenges. As the days turned into weeks, Michael found himself more and more drawn to Sarah. Their shared moments, whether it was a simple conversation over coffee or walk in the park, were filled with genuine connection and understanding. Sarah's strength and resilience as a single mother inspired Michael, and Lily's innocent joy brought a sense of lightness to his heart. One crisp autumn morning, Michael decided to invite Sarah and Lily to his place for a small dinner. He spent the day preparing a variety of dishes, eager to create a warm and welcoming atmosphere. As he cooked, memories of past gatherings with Emma flickered through his mind, but he pushed them aside, focusing on the present and the future he was building. When Sarah and Lily arrived, Michael greeted them with a smile, feeling a sense of anticipation. Lily ran up to him, her little arms outstretched for a hug. Hi, Michael, Lily exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Hey there, Lily. I'm so glad you could come, Michael said, scooping her up and giving her a gentle hug. Sarah followed, her eyes warm with appreciation. Thank you for inviting us, Michael. It smells amazing in here. Michael led them into the living room, where he had set the table with care. Candles flickered softly, casting a cozy glow over the room. Make yourselves at home, Michael said, gesturing to the comfortable seating. Dinner will be ready in just a few minutes. As they sat down to eat, the conversation flowed naturally. They shared stories, laughed, and enjoyed the delicious meal Michael had prepared. It was a simple, yet meaningful evening, filled with warmth and connection. After dinner, as Lily played with a set of toys Michael had bought for her, Sarah and Michael sat on the couch, sipping tea. Michael, I have to say, this has been one of the nicest evenings I've had in a long time, Sarah said, her voice sincere. I'm glad to hear that, Sarah. It means a lot to me, Michael replied, feeling a sense of contentment. Sarah looked at him, her expression thoughtful. Michael, I've been thinking a lot about us. About what we mean to each other. Michael's heart skipped a beat, and he met her gaze. I've been thinking about that too, Sarah. She took a deep breath, her eyes reflecting a mixture of hope and vulnerability. I know we've both been through a lot, and I don't want to rush into anything. But I do feel something special between us. Michael reached out and took her hand, giving it a gentle squeeze. I feel the same way, Sarah. You've brought so much light into my life. I want to see where this can go, at our own pace. Sarah smiled, her eyes glistening with emotion. I'd like that, Michael. From that moment on, their relationship blossomed. They continued to spend time together, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Michael found himself falling for Sarah, not just for her kindness and beauty, but for the way she understood and supported him. She was his rock, and he was hers. As the months went by, Michael and Sarah began to talk about their future more seriously. They discussed their dreams, their fears, and their hopes for what lay ahead. Michael found himself opening up in ways he hadn't before, sharing his deepest thoughts and feelings with Sarah. One chilly winter evening, they sat by the fireplace in Michael's living room, wrapped in a cozy blanket. The flickering flames cast a warm glow, creating a serene atmosphere. "Sarah, there's something I need to tell you," Michael said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Sarah looked at him, her eyes filled with curiosity and concern. "What is it, Michael?" He took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "I've been thinking a lot about my past, about everything that happened with Emma. It was a painful experience, but it taught me so much about myself and what I want in a relationship." Sarah nodded, her hand resting on his. "And what do you want, Michael?" Michael looked into her eyes, his heart pounding. "I want a future with you, Sarah. I want to build a life together, to create new memories and overcome any challenges that come our way. I love you, and I love Lily. You both mean the world to me." Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes, and she smiled, her heart full. "I love you too, Michael. You brought so much happiness into our lives. I can't imagine my future without you in it." They embraced, their hearts full of love and hope for the future. They knew that their journey wouldn't be without its challenges, but together, they felt ready to face whatever came their way. In the months that followed, Michael and Sarah continued to grow closer. They introduced each other to their families, blending their lives in a way that felt natural and right. Lily adored Michael, and he cherished the bond they shared. One sunny spring afternoon, while enjoying a picnic in the park, Michael looked at Sarah and Lily playing together. The sight filled him with a sense of joy and contentment he had never known before. "Sarah, there's something I want to ask you," Michael said, his voice trembling with emotion. Sarah turned to him, her eyes filled with love. "What is it, Michael?" He took a deep breath, reaching into his pocket and pulling out a small, velvet box. Opening it, he revealed a beautiful ring, sparkling in the sunlight. "Sarah, will you marry me?" Michael asked, his voice filled with hope and love. Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she nodded, her heart overflowing with joy. "Yes, Michael, I will marry you." As they embraced, Lily ran over, her face lit up with excitement. "Are we going to be a family now?" Michael smiled, lifting Lily into his arms. "Yes, Lily, we are going to be a family." The park echoed with their laughter and joy, a testament to the love and resilience that had brought them together. Michael had found his new beginning, and with Sarah and Lily by his side, he was ready to face the future with hope and determination. The months following Michael's proposal to Sarah were filled with a whirlwind of planning and anticipation. They decided on a small, intimate wedding, surrounded by close family and friends. The ceremony was to be held in the same park where Michael had proposed, a place that had come to symbolize new beginnings for them. As the wedding day approached, Michael felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. He wanted everything to be perfect for Sarah and Lily, and he poured his heart into every detail of the preparations. Sarah, too, was busy with planning, but she always made time for Michael and Lily, ensuring that their bond grew stronger with each passing day. On the morning of the wedding, Michael woke up early, his heart racing with anticipation. He stood by the window, watching the sunrise, and took a moment to reflect on how far he had come. The pain of his past was still a part of him, but it no longer defined him. He had found love and happiness again, and he was ready to embrace his future with open arms. As the guests arrived at the park, Michael felt a sense of calm wash over him. His parents, who had been a pillar of support throughout his journey, were there, beaming with pride. Sarah's parents, who had warmly welcomed Michael into their family, were also present, their faces lit up with joy. Lily, dressed in a beautiful flower girl dress, was the star of the show. She ran around excitedly, her laughter echoing through the park. Michael couldn't help but smile as he watched her, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the new family he was about to become a part of. When the ceremony began, Michael stood at the altar, his heart pounding in his chest. The music played, and everyone turned to watch as Sarah walked down the aisle, her arm linked with her father's. She looked breathtakingly beautiful, her eyes shining with love and happiness. As Sarah reached the altar, Michael took her hands in his eyes locked on hers. The officiant began the ceremony, and Michael felt tears welling up in his eyes as he listened to the words that would bind them together forever. Michael, do you take Sarah to be your lawfully wedded wife, to heaven to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, as long as you both shall live? The officiant asked. Michael's voice was steady as he replied, I do. And Sarah, do you take Michael to be your lawfully wedded husband, to heaven to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, as long as you both shall live? The officiant continued. Sarah's eyes glistened with tears as she said, I do. With those words, they exchanged rings, a symbol of their eternal commitment to each other. As the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Michael and Sarah shared a kiss, sealing their vows with a promise of love and devotion. The reception that followed was a joyous celebration. Friends and family toasted to the newlyweds, their glasses clinking in celebration. There was laughter, dancing, and an overwhelming sense of love and support from everyone present. Michael felt a sense of completeness that he had never experienced before. He danced with Sarah, holding her close as they swayed to the music. He twirled Lily around the dance floor, her giggles filling the air. It was a night filled with memories that he would cherish forever. As the evening drew to a close, Michael and Sarah stood hand in hand, watching the fireworks light up the sky. The colors reflected in their eyes, a testament to the bright future that awaited them. We did it, Sarah whispered, her voice filled with awe. Yes, we did, Michael replied, his heart overflowing with love. And this is just the beginning. The months following their wedding were a time of adjustment and growth. Michael and Sarah moved into a new house, a place they could call their own. They worked together to create a warm and loving home for Lily, filling it with laughter and joy. Michael continued to focus on his career, finding new opportunities for growth and advancement. Sarah, too, pursued her passions, balancing her work with her responsibilities as a mother and wife. They supported each other in every endeavor, their partnership growing stronger with each passing day. One evening, as they sat on the porch, watching Lily play in the yard, Michael turned to Sarah with a thoughtful expression. Sarah, I've been thinking about something, he began, his voice steady. Sarah looked at him, her eyes filled with curiosity. What is it, Michael? Michael took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. I want us to expand our family. I want Lily to have a sibling, and I want us to experience the joy of raising another child together. Sarah's eyes filled with emotion, and she smiled, her heart full. I would love that, Michael. Let's start this new chapter together. Over the next few months, they began the process of planning for their future family. They visited doctors, discussed their options, and prepared themselves for the journey ahead. It was a time of hope and anticipation, filled with dreams of what their family would become. One sunny afternoon, as they sat in the doctor's office, they received the news they had been hoping for. Sarah was pregnant, and their hearts swelled with joy. We're going to have a baby, Sarah whispered, tears of happiness streaming down her face. Michael held her close, his own tears of joy mingling with hers. We're going to have a baby, he repeated, feeling a sense of completeness and fulfillment. The months that followed were filled with preparations for the new arrival. They decorated the nursery, bought baby clothes, and attended prenatal classes. Michael was a constant source of support for Sarah, ensuring that she had everything she needed to feel comfortable and cared for. As Sarah's due date approached, the excitement in their household reached a fever pitch. Lily was thrilled at the prospect of becoming a big sister, eagerly helping with the preparations and asking endless questions about the baby. One crisp winter evening, Sarah went into labor. Michael rushed her to the hospital, his heart racing with anticipation. The hours that followed were a blur of contractions, encouragement, and anticipation. Finally, in the early hours of the morning, their baby boy was born. Michael held him in his arms, his heart overflowing with love and gratitude. He looked at Sarah, her face glowing with the joy of motherhood, and felt an overwhelming sense of pride and happiness. Welcome to the world, little one, Michael whispered, his voice filled with emotion. They named their son Ethan, a name that held special meaning for both of them. As they brought him home from the hospital, their hearts were filled with joy and anticipation for the future. The days and nights that followed were a whirlwind of feedings, diaper changes, and sleepless nights. But through it all, Michael and Sarah worked together, their love and partnership growing stronger with each passing day. Lily embraced her role as a big sister with enthusiasm, showering Ethan with love and affection. Their home was filled with laughter, joy, and the sounds of a growing family. As the years went by, Michael and Sarah continued to build a life filled with love, joy, and meaningful connections. They faced challenges together, always supporting each other and finding strength in their bond. Through it all, Michael never forgot the journey that had brought him to this point. The pain of his past had shaped him, but it had also led him to a place of happiness and fulfillment. He had found love again, and with Sarah, Lily, and Ethan by his side, he knew that his future was bright. Thank you for joining us on Storytime Audio. Michael's journey through heartbreak and betrayal to finding love and building a new life serves as a powerful reminder of resilience and the strength of the human spirit. We hope this story has touched your heart and inspired you to find hope even in the darkest of times. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more incredible stories that captivate and inspire. Until next time, keep listening and keep believing in the power of a new beginning.